Before you hear the next conversation, I'm inviting you to join this community to heal, to grow your self-awareness, to get to know yourself and in turn get to know others. All I am asking is for you to click and subscribe. I would absolutely love your support. Thank you so much for subscribing and being part of this incredible community. I can't wait for you to hear this next conversation. Check it out. You're welcome, Dennis.
Hey, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Happy to have you on the podcast. So Dennis, tell us, how did you get into astrology and numerology, and how's this become something that you are highly experienced in?
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, it all started back in a bookstore in New York City back in the 90s. It kind of just starts that way. I would say was walking in the bookstore, like old Barnes and Nobles. It's 30 years ago, a long time ago. And I'm like, oh, astrology. Let me pick that up and let me see what that's about. Because we all know sun signs and we read it in the horoscopes and all these things. And so I picked that up and I started to read more about astrology and saw that we have more than just our sun sign placements. That's a sign that we know by, like, hey, I'm a Sagittarius. When you say that, that's your sun sign. So there's more to your chart than just your sun sign. And I started looking up and starting to learn about the other planets and their positions in the chart and things like that. And eventually that had me stumble upon numerology. And I started down that road, which is far less known in society as far as how to use it than astrology is. So I went down that road. And, I didn't start doing this as a profession right away. I was doing other things in my life as I was studying this. But I'm glad I did that because over time, I got to see the accuracy of these things as I looked at people's charts, looked at my own, just tracked things through time as I was doing other things with my life. Eventually, I decided to become a confidence coach, went and got my coaching certificate. And at some point, I decided to bring numerology into my practice.
That's fantastic. I love how this, it's been what you just mentioned, 30 years. That's incredible that you just stumble across something and then you started investigating and researching it. Can you tell me for those who are skeptical about this, where's the science aspect of it come in? Where is the science evidence, I guess, behind it all?
All right. Well, since I do both, I'll briefly touch on both.
Okay.
Astrology is probably the more obvious one. That has to do with the vibrations of the planets and everything in the universe and everything in the solar system, because we see the evidence of the effect of the moon on the planet. When the moon is full and is close to the earth, you see the tides rise higher. We all know that the moon has an effect on the planet. We all know that the sun has an effect on the planet as well. Without the sun, where would we be, right? The other planets have an effect on us and the planet, but it's less obvious than the sun and the moon because they're giant bodies. They emit what's called neutrinos they hit everything in the solar system, but they also hit the Earth. And so the position of the planets and the way the neutrinos hit the Earth has an effect on everything on the Earth, including us. It's just that the sun and moon have a more obvious visual effect where we can see it, but the other planets have a more subtle effect. As far as numbers and letters are concerned on the numerology side, that has to do with vibrational energy and sacred geometry, because letters and numbers are actually just shapes. All shapes mean something. This is the first form of writing that people do, is they draw out things in shapes that can be interpreted. And it goes along with the vibrations. When we speak, we emit certain levels and frequencies of vibrations. And when we pronounce these letters and words and symbols, they also carry the power of that particular vibration. And so when you look at all of these things from a scientific and even metaphysical point of view, you can see how these things could affect or at least play a role in our life here on Earth.
That's beautiful. That's so interesting. When you say affect, you're saying, firstly, we're affected by the sun and moon. How are we affected by the sun and moon?
Well, let's start with the moon. The moon is the most easiest to understand. The moon is just the sun's satellite. It actually doesn't have its own light. It's reflecting the sun. But the moon also has gravitational pull on its surface. So when it's full and close to the Earth, the gravitational pull affects the oceans. Now, the Earth is about 60 to 70% water, and so are we. Our bodies are made up of 60 to 70% water. So whatever the moon is doing, whatever the moon is affecting when it comes to the tides and the patterns on the planet, it's also affecting us because we have the tides and the waters inside of us. And this is where you get the idea of, they used to say the old term lunatic, someone who's going crazy or whatever. So they have been studies to show that in a full moon, people's behavior, has shown some alteration. But those are the ebbs and flows of the world. I mean, tides roll in and move out. We have our ebbs and flows in our life. So that's the easiest example to pick, is the fact that the moon controls the waves and the tides, and we are also, just like the Earth, 60 to 70% water.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's understandable. Yeah, I can see, there's obviously lots of science behind that. Is it true though, when they say that, so because we are 60, 70% water, and when there is a full moon, we are affected. And they say that whatever emotion that you're feeling, in a full moon, that emotion is heightened and you're experiencing that feeling stronger.
It's certainly possible because everything is more intense. Just think about, the moon is a great example. Just think about the tides. There's always water there. The ocean doesn't leave when the moon goes away. But when the moon is full and ready for action, the tides get more intense.
Yes.
And let there not be a storm at the same time. So then you really have some flood waters that might be happening depending on what's going on. So you can feel the changes in your body on a subtle level. A lot of these changes that take place based on the planets and the sound vibrations of the numbers when you speak them, all that stuff is on a cellular level. You have to become conscious about the changes going on in your body. How do you feel during a full moon versus a new moon? How do you feel when someone says your name? How do you feel about certain other words and the vibrations that you feel when you hear those words? So the planets and the vibrations have a huge impact on us, but we just have to tune into them.
That's just so interesting. I'm really quite intrigued by it all. So if I tell you, I guess, my birthday or I don't really know much about this, to be honest. That my sun sign, is that what it's called? So I'm born, I would say I'm an Aries. My birthday is March the 27th, 1991. What do those, how do you get your moon, your moon sign and all these other planet signs? How does it come together? And, how can you understand or know, maybe, why do we use numerology and astrology? Is it to know what's going to happen in days to come? Is it to know where we're at currently? Is it to know, what's the use of it?
That's a great question. So the use of this, back in, ye olden days, back in the olden times, people use these arts for more of a predictional situation. They wanted to know, what's coming, what are the fortunes going to come, what should we expect, and a lot of people didn't have access to this knowledge. A lot of the royalty and the upper class mostly are the ones that had access to all of this knowledge. The average folk didn't really have access to that. And they would use this knowledge to, rule and to predict the futures of their offspring and see what kind of fortunes they have in their life, things like that. Over the years, over hundreds of years, slowly but surely, this stuff seemed to spread. The common person started to gain knowledge of these things. And now we kind of use it for the same purpose, to get a better understanding of who we are as individuals, and still some of the prediction techniques that lie within these arts. But lately, people have been doing it for psychological reasons. Who am I? How can I come to a better understanding of myself? Who am I compatible with? How can I relate and get to know myself, my family, my patterns better? And of course, still the prediction thing. So I think people have been using it for similar reasons for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years with this.
Super interesting. So if we were to use an example right now, you can use me or you can use yourself. How can we like how do
Mhm.
you go about this? Like what do you need to know about someone? Like what can you tell them about certain things that you just mentioned there?
Oh, well, I mean, we can pretty much, if you go deep enough into a chart, we can tell you pretty much everything. This is the cosmic map of your life. But all right, so let's start from the basics.
Mm-hmm.
Your birthday is going to be the key for any divination practice that you're interested in finding out your chart about. The birthday is going to be the foundation. I know a bunch of divination practices, and they all start with your birthday. For numerology, not all you need, but your birthday starts off the framework of your life, what you're going to use. And we're going to use you because you gave us your birthday. So you have 3/27/1991. Off the top right there, I can tell you about that 27. That's what's called your psyche, which means that's how you identify as an individual inside of yourself. That 27 reduces to a 9. But this 27 has a lot to do with intuition and spirituality and intellect and mysticism. So the 27 actually in the numerology world is really regarded as something that has to do with magic and a little bit of witchcraft there. But it also reduces to a 9, which is the number of compassion, the number of selfless service. Nines also need to understand that understanding forgiveness, rising above their scars in the past, not holding on to past abandonments or hurts in order to have better future relationships. And with this 27, you have access to your intuition, your motherly instinct, imagination, a little bit of spirituality and mysticism. So 27 actually is a pretty big number in numerology. So that will be just an example of a part of your birthday and how you can look at that.
Wow, it's incredibly interesting. I love that you're somebody who's really embodies the astrology and numerology, and you clearly really took a deep dive into understanding and studying it, which is incredible because a lot of people, sometimes you see a lot of people online who are just like it's just they haven't really studied it and they haven't really tried to understand the science and the physics behind it all. So it's incredible that you do that.
Oh, absolutely. Once I caught on to, the power of this stuff, and the numbers are really accessible. Like, you don't really need a computer for the numbers. It's really just math. Like with this 27 example, the 2 and the 7 both have their meanings. And then when you put them together to form a 9, that has a meaning. So with the significance of the meanings, once you get deeper of the 2 to 7 and how it makes up the 9, and you read into that, there's a lot of insight you can gain. And that's just only one part of your birthday.
Interesting. So Dennis, when I introduced the question to you, and based on your experience and background and your study of astrology and numerology, the question for obviously the listeners, you've read the title, "How to Harness the Potential of 2024." What are your, I guess, why have you thought about harnessing potential? Like that's a great, when you actually brought this question to my mind, harnessing your potential, I don't think people think about often.
Yeah, because I teach numerology and this is what I do. This is my day job. You don't quit your day job. Yeah, this is my day job. I do this all day. So this time of year, we call it the harvest season. I'm sure you know about the harvest season. This time of year, I'm on the other side of the globe from you. So for us, it's getting colder. We're getting burr, and it's the harvest season. It's the fall for us over here in New York. So I'm thinking about the year, what's coming up in the year. There's a lot of people who they're going through transitions in life because in their numerology chart, they're moving from one cycle to another. The universal year that we're in a universal year 7, we're moving into a universal year 8 in numerology. And so I've been thinking about all the cycle changes that are going on, all the energies that are coming in for the upcoming year, and just how to tap into those potentials so we can have a great, prosperous 2024.
Oh, this is fantastic. So how can we do it? How do we harness the potential of 2024? What do we need to look at on an individual level? I guess it's hard, for all the listeners listening will have different astrologers and numerologies. So, how can we, I guess, not generalize it, but how can many individuals, or what are things that they can use or tools that they can use to harness the potential of 2024 from your angle, from your perspective and experience?
Yeah. No, certainly everyone's chart is going to look a little different, but I can give you some broad indicators.
Yes.
So let's start with the number side. I'll give you a couple of indicators. So let's start with the number side. The universal year for 2024's number reduces to a number 8. And this is a really, really, really big deal. 8 is the number of abundance, and dynamism, business management, boundaries, respect, power. And so this 8 holds the potential, if you tap into it, to really accelerate. Let's say if you're in business, this is a good opportunity for you to expand your business or start a new business. This is a great opportunity for you to take calculated risks when it comes to finance, maybe something in the stock market. Maybe you could invest in mutual funds or multiple stocks and just kind of take calculated risks in the stock market. And you can probably really win big in that area. Like I said, with business, you could expand your business. If you've been thinking about starting a new one, do so. Also, just in life in general, step into the power that you have, the potential that you have to manifest things that you want, things that you've been waiting for this past year. Because 7 has been kind of a little bit an introverted year, kind of internal. People have been kind of resting, thinking about what's going to be going on next, exploring possibilities. And this is the time for you to put those possibilities into action. So tapping into the number 8 just means possible money, wins, abundance. And look at the numbers that the 2024 makes up. It's got 2 2s and a 4. These are all even numbers discussing stability. The 2 is about emotional intelligence, harnessing your emotional intelligence and honing in on your instincts and allowing your instincts to guide you. And the 4 is about doing the work, doing the hard work it takes to make those big wins. And that ends in an 8. So I would encourage everyone to tap into your potential, expand your business if that's what you're going to be doing. Or if you're just someone who thinks, I don't like the way people treat me. I want to be treated better. I demand respect. And the 8 year is the year for you to demand that respect and show people how to treat you.
Wow, it sounds like a number 8 has a significant role here with the numerology. I love that it's an abundant year. It's but I guess a lot of skeptical people like have trouble in understanding or believing these different numerology and astrology and what they have to offer and how it does affect us on a human level, and that affects our cells or like on a cellular level. But if we introduce, like, I don't know if you've read the book about I forgot her name, Donna something. She's a doctor. She's a researcher in the biology and cells, and she actually talks about how your words create your words create a significant alteration to your body, to your cells. If you look at your cells under a microscope, the cells are changed based on your emotions and thoughts and words that you use, because it causes a physical reaction. So what you're talking about in neurology and astrology and how the other planets, like the moon, affects us and other planets do too, even just your words and you believing or not believing in yourself affects your mind and your heart and all your organs and your body on a cellular level. And there's research and science to show that.
I'm glad you said that, because the words we speak absolutely affect us. What our name is affects us. How our name is spelled affects us. Where the letters are located in our name affects us, because they all construct how we pronounce our name. Like the name Dennis has a particular resonance to it, and Tiffeny has a different resonance to it. It's different letters, different arrangements, different sounds, different syllables. Absolutely, the sounds, the words, they all affect us. The syllables, the letter arrangements, what the letters look like. Because people can read your signature. You can write something down. People can read your handprint. So it's really everything that we do and everything that we say is a reflection of who we are.
Oh, that's yeah, exactly that. And for some people, because it's so basic and it's because it's so like simple, for some reason, for many minds, it's hard to comprehend or hard to like understand or accept that it's actually that like it's on that basic level, on the basic level of your cells, that everything, they say all of us are connected, but we're also connected with ourselves, our words, our cells, our organ, everything. Yes, we are attached physically, but your mind and its thoughts and its patterns and its I guess how it sees the world around you and how you see other people and how you feel energy or take in like someone's you feel natural instinct and human instinct is all so very much connected and causing significant I guess alterations and opportunities. That's why people are able to manifest, you would say. No, like that's why people are able to create that life and really have this incredible no doubt about manifestation or how things have been coming about for them, including like, for example, like Oprah like goes on about this. I've seen her in a number of interviews talk about how just manifestation and something that she's just so in line with, and the things that she's mentioned, it's almost like this is impossible. There's no way you could have like people like to use the word impossible, but it's not. It is incredibly possible, and based on your own belief and the words and alignment that you're using to create your life.
Absolutely. I think this society doesn't allow us to understand ourselves on a cellular level because we're taught, we're supposed to make decisions based on our gut, right? Not our mind. Our soul and our gut is really the seat of power. Now, there's another practice. I won't bring it up here because we'll get sidetracked. But there's another practice that shows us just how our body works and how the energy flows through our body. So we're really not supposed to make decisions from our head space. That's a space of trials. Hey, what about this idea? What about that idea? It's a good place to debate things. But when it's time to make decisions, we need to be going to the cellular level, to our soul. But the society doesn't teach us that. They'll think with your head. What makes sense logically? Like they don't teach us to really go deep, see the invisible, get to know ourselves from a gut level. They want everyone to think the same way, think from the same place. Everything is binary. But that's not how we function.
I like that you're bringing that up. And you know what? I want to go into it. Like, why should we be making more decisions from instinct and intuition, and how can we become more aligned with that?
Well, we should be making that because the soul has the knowledge, because we're more than just humans. We are spiritual beings on a human journey, right? So, and this is the only time we're going to get to be ourselves in this incarnation. Even if we come back, whatever, we're going to be a totally different identity. So making decisions from the depths of our soul and our gut is who we truly are. These bodies are just, they call them skin suits. You want to call it that, I suppose. And so what is behind this skin suit? What makes this body animated? It's the spirit behind the body, right? So that's what that's about, making it from your gut and not from your head. The head can be easily conditioned for most of us, but the gut, when you listen to yourself, is going to be more true. And as far as how to tap into that, I might give some stereotypical answers like doing some meditation, but that's really, really important that we pick up some type of meditation, some type of personal growth practice, some type of journal writing and being aware, some type of positive reflection from a person we trust to see, what are some other aspects about ourselves that we might not be seeing clearly. So there's several things that one can do to enhance their awareness of what's really going on inside of them. It's one of the things that help people locate.
I love that. I love that you mentioned all of that. When we talk about, like people are using logic and ration, and they're not using instinct or intuition, and it's because of society and how we've been I guess brainwashed in a way too. I like that you mentioned like conditioning and brain and logic in there, because like the brain is we're basically brainwashed from the moment we come out of the womb. Like we're brainwashed initially by our parents and then society, and then like everything, we're continuously being brainwashed, and that's the mind thing. But then there's something in us, I think, intuitively, where something doesn't feel right, even if you are brainwashed. Wouldn't you say? Do you think people who are brainwashed, or people who are conditioned to think about a certain thing, or about certain people, certain culture, race, or religion in a certain way? I'm not talking about believing in it. I'm talking about maybe looking at other people in a different way, or looking at dehumanizing people in ways. Do you think that there's an intuitive, instinctual thing in them that's saying no?
I think that we do know what fits us and what doesn't. It's just paying attention to what we're feeling when we're thinking certain thoughts. How are we feeling? When we're looking at people and making judgments, how are we feeling? When we allow someone to talk us into a decision, how are we really feeling? When we want to speak our mind, why are we not speaking our mind? When we want to really go left, when society tells us to go right, what inside of us makes us want to go right when we know we want to go left? So I definitely think that people know when something doesn't feel right. But we have the tendency to want to be liked. We want to be part of the crowd. And I think that's one of those evolutionary things back when we were less advanced and we were all rolling in tribes, and you couldn't just fly to Australia from New York now. So we needed our people, our pack. Back in the olden days, as they say, if you were an outcast of your pack, that could be detrimental to your life. So that kind of stayed with us on a cellular level. So now we're obsessed with being liked, obsessed with being included. We're willing to go against ourselves to keep the crowd with us. But we live in different times now. We are more able to expand and be our own individual self. We don't need to rely on the tribe as much, or we can go out and create and find our own tribe. So we have more liberties in this world. And so we're able to now go on, I know this is not right for me. I'm going to go this way.
Yeah, that's perfectly well said there. And I think people just need that, I guess, people-pleasing mentality, or like following the crowd, or following the tribe. And there's other tribes out there, other crowds out there, and other people that people can align with. I think there's just a fear that they can't find these people, or a fear of feeling alone because you're having a disagreement to that circle of people or group or family that you're in.
Yeah, and the media doesn't help, because the media promotes the stereotypes. They take all the stereotypes of everybody and they magnify them on the TV. And they take all the prejudices and magnify them. And then what do they do with the divination arts that I'm talking about? They make fun of them. Oh, read, look at these daily horoscopes. It's for entertainment purposes only. And no one dares mention numerology. So they show us the worst of people and make us create stereotypes. And then the very tools that could get us to go deeper in ourselves, they tell us it's for entertainment purposes only. So we have to be a little bit more independent thinking and seek the truth within us. We don't need to rely on the media, the newspaper, the next door neighbor. We're living in an age now where we have to be willing to be independent and listen to what's going on inside of us.
Yeah, beautifully said. Like, we need to be proactive in understanding ourselves, basically. We need to be proactive in understanding, why our thoughts are the way they are, or what, how do I create boundaries in my life, or how do I tackle this next goal, or people, you need to unpack and understand their on a real basic cellular level what's happening with them, and how can they move in the direction that's better, that benefits them, and that's better for them and better for humanity and their communities. Like what's on an individual level, I think people don't understand that if you are not staying true to yourself, you're harming the community that you're in.
Absolutely, because the community that you're in needs you to be your best self. This is why the 8-year coming up is so exciting, because this is the exact thing that you can do, is step into your power, listen to your instincts. Don't be afraid to take calculated risks. Stop doubting yourself. Stop being afraid of life, afraid of failure, and grab the bull by the horns, to be clean about it. That's not really what I want to say. So yeah. Absolutely.
No, Dennis, how do you create that? How do you create that for yourself? What gives you or helps you believe in yourself and believe these things about you personally? How do you believe in your abilities, or how do you believe in having that belief that something is yours or something's meant for you, or you're going in the direction that you want to go into? Like, how do you believe in yourself?
Well, for us, I go based on, there's several things that I do to believe in myself. One, we just talked extensively about the divination practices, and I'll say this for those who are skeptical about it. Hey, I need proof. You're not going to get proof unless you let go of the skepticism, because the skeptical mind will prevent you from seeing the proof. Those who say they want proof won't see it, because the skeptical mind already has answers for anything someone tells you. So if you can suspend skepticism and look into yourself, and possibly look into the numbers, and just, you'll see the proof once you suspend skepticism. But anyhow, using those arts, also over time, paying attention to what's really going on around me. Who are my friends? What are the positive feedback I'm getting? What actual outcomes am I getting in life? And at this point, I'm not a young dude anymore. So at this point, I've got a lot of life to reflect on and go, yes, I accomplished this, I accomplished this, I accomplished this, and I failed at this, but I learned, and I failed at that I learned, and I didn't get this, but I came back and got it the third time. So it really is going inside, meditation, all these things that we spoke about, but also getting out there and living life. All right, I'm going to keep banging the 8 drum. Get out there with this upcoming 8-year. Get out there and live life. Live experiences. See how things really are before you say no to them. Be willing to take chances. So, just go on the evidence you already have about how great you are.
I love that. I love that. I do that too. Like, when you, like, I think my belief in myself and where I think, like, I know I'm going to do this or I'm going to make this happen comes from like looking at things like retrospectively, looking at how far I've come. I think that people don't do that enough. It's like, look where I was and look where I am now. Look at what I've been through. Look at the resilience that I had to get to this point right now. And how much I've bettered my thinking, myself, my peace, my, learning new tools and learning about meditation and learning about different ways and having different tools that help me be the best version of myself. So I think people need to do that, like have a retrospective look at how far they have come and look at the changes and growth and progress that's been happening in their lives.
Oh, absolutely. I do that all the time. And like I said, it's not always easy because we're bombarded with all kind of outside influences trying to make us feel bad about ourselves. And we have all kinds of internalized guilt and shame. Guilt and shame is not a natural state. We're only guilty and shamed because of what someone else is saying, right? That's how guilt and shame is measured by outside sources. That's not a natural state. So we need to be able to move around the guilt and shame, because that's blocking parts of who we are.
I love that you said that. I love that you said that. What about too, Dennis? What are your thoughts on like when we're like those of us who are, I guess, well in tuned with what's happening in different places in the world, and that we're affected by these different situations, and we're educating ourselves about what's happening around the world, and the oppression and harm that's happening to different people, and I guess we're watching it and we're educating ourselves about it. How can we, I guess, not separate ourselves from it because it's important to be educated about what's going on, but how can we not let that, I guess, bring us into and bring our bodies into this anxious state because we're trying to follow our hearts and make things happen and create follow these goals and, like you said, take these chances and risks and so on. But then we're also affected by what's happening in the world, and our bodies having this kind of anxious kind of feeling inside of us.
That's a great question. Now, I know that we can't disconnect ourselves from the world totally, but really, you first of all get to know yourself. Are you the type of person that reacts very sensitively to the news and what's going on in the world right now? Because we have all different reaction levels to these things that's going on outside of us. So first, get to know who you are. Are you someone that does feel the pain when you watch TV and things like that? If so, then maybe reduce the amount of news you intake from people that are not linked to you. That doesn't mean you don't care about anyone in the world, but if you're the type that takes that stuff internally and it affects you vibrationally, that's also not good for your health, because these world events you really can't do a whole lot about. And if you are moved to do something about it, if there's a way to do it, then do so, right? So let's say if you see like hungry kids on TV. Now, there's not a lot you can do about it, but if you can, then do so and just understand that you have done what you can. If you can't do anything, either reduce your intake of it or just put good vibrations in the air. Like, because we have to know that we can't control everybody's life. We can't control what's going on the other side of the world. And so putting it in perspective, sending out good vibes, and really focusing on you being the best person you can be and having an effect on the things that are within your control, right? So if we look at the TV and we see war and poverty, we can't help that. But what can we do to enhance people's lives that we are connected to? So we can't go to Zambia and help that person, but who can we help that's closer to us, that's in a similar situation? So just knowing yourself, reducing the intake you get from the outer world, and doing the most good you can within your sphere of control.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Dennis. Thank you for coming on to the podcast. I love to ask all my guest speakers at the end of every conversation, how has a conversation with me right now made you reflect or highlight anything to you?
This is a great conversation, and it just reflects for me just how much power we have as an individual and how powerful we really are as individuals and how we can make so much happen. And because of skepticism and cynicism and, elements of control, we've stopped believing in ourselves. But I want to see us return to that belief in ourselves. And so today's conversation just makes me reflect on how powerful we all are and what a great opportunity we have to have the unique qualities that we have, so we can capitalize on it and win riches. And I don't mean money. I mean riches that you can't buy. Great friendships, great relationships, beautiful relationship with self. So I'm leaving here thinking about the power we have and how great it is that we get to tap into it in 2024.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Dennis.